So if you don't understand that to its core of who your customer is, how to speak to them, what they care about, then what are you doing there?
Welcome to Honest Ecommerce, a podcast dedicated to cutting through the BS and finding actionable advice for online store owners. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and I believe running a direct-to-consumer brand does not have to be complicated or a guessing game. On this podcast, we interview founders and experts who are putting in the work and creating real results. I also share my own insights from running our top Shopify consultancy, Electric Eye. We cut the fluff in favor of facts to help you grow your e-commerce business. Let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Honest Ecommerce. Today, I'm welcoming to the show Sean Agatep. He's joining us from Vincero Collective. Sean, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So for folks that are unfamiliar, what types of products are you guys bringing to market over there at Vincero?
So Vincero is a men's accessory brand, primarily watches, eyewear, and jewelry. And we're on a mission to become the best men's gifting option.
Ooh, very fun and very, well, while we're recording this, it's very timely, right after Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
Yeah.
But I still believe this will be out before Christmas. Take me back in time. Where did the idea for this business come from? What was the first product you guys worked on?
Yeah, so I'll ramble probably a little bit here, but Vincero started in 2014. I started it with my best friends from college. We all graduated from Gonzaga University up in Spokane. Go Zags, it's a big basketball program. And we originally moved out to China right after we graduated college. None of us really wanted to get real jobs. We knew there was a lot of opportunity in China, and we got the entrepreneurial bug. So we were doing product development, sourcing, and manufacturing. And then we decided to start our own brand in 2014 off of Kickstarter. So we used Kickstarter as a testing platform to validate our marketing messaging. And we designed and built a watch that was the face, the dial of the watch, and the links of the watch were all made out of Italian marble. So we figured out a way to cut Italian marble and put the inlay of that marble within the watch. So that's how Vincero started. Vincero actually comes from Beni Vidi Vici. Okay, I saw it conquered. Vincero means I will win. So none of us are that. We don't have Italian roots, but that's how the Italian rooted name came to be.
Awesome. Where did specifically one, the watch, but then two, how did you get into the idea of all right, now we're going to launch this on Kickstarter?
We saw the opportunity. Kickstarter was hot in 2014, 2012 to 2014. I think we were at that age too. We were between 24, 25. So it was cool to see the ability to launch your own product. We had experience in designing, developing, and manufacturing products for other people. So the thought was well, listen, we already know how to make all these products. It's all made down the street. Why wouldn't we just do it for ourselves and make cool stuff that we would like and we would want for ourselves? So that's the genesis behind it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely remember the heyday of Kickstarter and just crowdfunding in general. And I still believe to this day, there's nothing wrong with that avenue, but it's definitely difficult to get right. So do you remember when you guys were launching that Kickstarter campaign? Mm-hmm. What helped make it successful? A
lot of diagnosing the messaging for other Kickstarter campaigns that did work. So kind of using and running that playbook, and also understanding that Kickstarter wasn't the end all be all. It was a way to test your marketing platform, and really, not to say this in a negative way, but it is for a lot of, it's amateur hour. You're just learning how to do stuff on your own. So what worked for us was, it's probably pretty brutal to watch old videos of us now, but we followed the same playbook of messaging that really attracted us to whatever product that we liked. It helped that we were selling a product that we ourselves were stoked about, because that authenticity of everything that we would actually want. We weren't just creating a gimmicky product or something that was a fad. It was no, this is cool stuff. We can stand behind it. It's something I would want for myself.
Absolutely. So you guys build out this Kickstarter campaign, you make some videos, and you start to kind of advertise it. Was it all organic, or did you also kind of loop in paid on top of it?
We didn't do any paid. So it was all organic. It was just a bum rush of networking and kind of blasting it out into the ether. I think a couple years after it is really when you probably needed to juice campaigns and do paid activations and everything else like that. But we were able to get in before there was really that need.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've had a few guests on the show before. So listeners, you can search it out. That talked about launching and having it. There are agencies that exist to help people succeed with Kickstarter campaigns these days. It's such a interesting little niche. But now I'm going to go off on a side tangent here. It's like any agency that like promises that they can help you find product market fit, I'd be wary of.
Well, it's also your responsibility to do it yourself.
As founder, yeah, it's like the most important thing to you.
Right. Like if you're not, that's like the hardest part. So if you don't understand that to its core of who your customer is, how to speak to them, what they care about, then what are you doing there?
Exactly. It always brings me back to this. It's like, I've been in this game for almost a decade building highly successful e-commerce websites.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, think about it. It's like, if I had a winning idea and it was that easy to start an e-commerce business, why the am I taking on like random clients and dealing with that? Like, why shouldn't I just be on a beach somewhere, sipping Mai Tais?
Right. It's also like, I mean, you can have 1,000 ideas, but it's all down to execution and on that as well. Right. Like,
oh yeah, everybody's got ideas.
It's trying to spread yourself too thin is a young man's game at this point. I think we're all guilty of that. But like when it comes down to it, it's like if you can get really good at a handful of things instead of trying to do everything. Yeah,
I think that it's not even just like when you're first getting started. When you're hiring anyone to help your business, an agency, a freelancer, etc., have them show you a case study where they have done the thing you want before.
Yeah.
And if they cannot do it, they're going to be learning on your dime. And sometimes that's okay if you don't have a big budget. But if you want to get it done right the first time, make sure that they can prove they've done it before.
Correct. And that's a crucial part of that hiring process. If you don't have any sort of skills assessment of like, hey, at the end of the day, job descriptions, everything, people can interview well, people can kind of bullshit their way to a certain point. But before you kind of commit to that relationship, you have to kind of have listen, this is what I care about. Can you do this at a base level? And if the candidate or applicant isn't willing to do that and show that they can actually contribute in that way, that's a red flag altogether.
Absolutely. And I know you have an immense depth of knowledge when it comes to hiring, and we'll get there in a minute.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, folks. But let's get back to the story of Vincero. So you guys launch on Kickstarter. You're lucky to be in before it's so competitive in that crowdfunding space. What happens next? You have a successful Kickstarter. Now what?
So what happens next is my other partners, Tim and Aaron, they just got in the Facebook wormhole. And this was 2014. So I stayed back in China. I built out our product development manufacturing team for the extra year. I followed along our first supply chain run because we used the funds we made from Kickstarter to just fund production. That's the beauty of it. And then Aaron and Tim got in the lab and figured out how to crank Facebook up and work on it. And we were still in that golden period where it was easier to scale and to learn. It doesn't mean that it was difficult by any means, but not difficult by any means. I'm not trying to throw shade at my partners, but
well, hold on. I remember like when our agency first got started. So we're 8 or 9 years in the game. So I'm going to guess 2015.
Right.
So that was like it was
about the same.
You could get away with some suspect stuff, and
correct,
you'd see some crazy ROI.
Correct. Yeah, there was a lot of experimentation and exploring, and I think something that we always stood behind those that we recognize that we're not the risk takers that a lot of entrepreneurs proud themselves to be, of like, oh no, well, let's just burn the boats and let's just do X, Y, and Z. We're a little more, we kind of know our DNA. We're a little more pragmatic. So following the breadcrumbs, being comfortable with and executing a game plan, we're okay with not being the first ones to do it. We're not on a mission to be the biggest ones and the best well known to do it. We just want a reputation, and we want to stand behind the work we do.
Absolutely. So your partners are trying to the best of their ability, figure out how to profitably run Facebook ads, because it wasn't Meta back then.
Right.
You're building out the product. I'm assuming, what was the first version of the website after Kickstarter?
So we threw it all. We've been on Shopify from the jump. So
congrats.
Yeah. Started with a basic template and just kind of tweaked it ourselves. Before Vincero, we had we were in China basically start failing at starting businesses until something stuck. So we kind of knew how to do some design, some stuff with, with sites and apps and everything else like that. So we were able to kind of like piece it together and tinker ourselves. And then we got the product to market, and I think we got the product in January or February. It was right before Chinese New Year. And we realized after a few months, that we needed to expand products because there's only so many ways you can cut Italian marble and put it on the face of a watch. That was challenging already. So the idea was like, okay, let's continue to not only make watches, but also other accessories. Let's figure out what our core customer would do. So we started making, we did like leather belts, we did leather bags, we did wallets. We started making bracelets. The idea to build out like essentially non-apparel accessories. And kind of tinkered around with that for the next year or so, and then kind of came down to the fact that our core product would always be watches, but there were some legs as a natural complementary product in jewelry, specifically like bracelets, because obviously if you wear a watch, it'd be cool to have like a bracelet next to it, and then eyewear as well.
Hey, Shopify store owners. Have you ever wondered if your store is leaving money on the table? Imagine increasing sales without spending more money on ads. Sounds too good to be true. Well, it's not. I'd like to introduce you to StoreTester. StoreTester is a done-for-you conversion rate optimization service for Shopify merchants. Could your store benefit from increased conversion rates, higher average order values, and improved revenue per visitor? StoreTester could be the perfect partner for you. From ideation to implementation, this full-service A/B testing service takes all of the guesswork out of improving Shopify stores. StoreTester does all the work for you while offering month-to-month transparent fixed pricing. It gets even better. They believe in their service so much, they're offering the first test for free for qualified merchants. Let me repeat. The first test is free for qualified merchants. Curious to see if you qualify for a free test? Reach out today. Visit StoreTester.com to schedule an intro call. That's www.StoreTester.com. Schedule an intro call today to see if you qualify for a free test. Hey everybody, today's podcast is brought to you by Intelligems, the ultimate profit optimization tool for Shopify merchants. I'm telling you this, obviously you know I own an agency. We use Intelligems when we're running split testing and CRO stuff for all of our clients. Are you looking to maximize your profits? Intelligems offers data-driven solutions to optimize your content, prices, discounts, and shipping rates. Join over 500 happy clients who have seen significant improvements. With Intelligems, you gain control over your e-commerce economics, boosting your profit per visitor by an astonishing 36%. But that's not all. Intelligems users report a 54.62% increase in revenue per visitor and a remarkable rise in conversion rates. How does Intelligems do it? Through a suite of tools that allows you to A/B test everything on your Shopify store, from landing pages to product prices and shipping rates. Imagine testing new layouts, offers, even a new Shopify theme with ease. We're testing a new landing page for our client on a new theme versus an old landing page on their old theme right now. Intelligems empowers you to find the perfect price point for your products and optimize your shipping strategy. But there's more. Boost your average order value with customized campaign offers and discover if your customers prefer free shipping or a lower list price. With over $100 million in incremental profit generated, they have over 1.5 billion transactions ran through their software. They have over 400 million shoppers that have gone through their test. Intelligems is not a tool, it's a game changer for your business. Are you ready to transform your Shopify store's profitability? Book a demo today at Intelligems.io. Empower your brand to reach new heights. Again, that's Intelligems, giving superpowers to your customer acquisition, retention, and overall profitability. Can you explain to me, you kind of glossed over it, but I think it's worth highlighting here. You said it's specifically not apparel. And what was the reasoning behind that?
Apparel's, well, you're talking to the operations guy. So apparel is very messy because of the amount of SKUs you have and the seasonality and everything else like that. I feel like you can't be an apparel and accessories brand and do it well because it's a completely different product development and manufacturing cycle. There's like a lot of, with watches or all of our jewelry, they're all hard goods. It's all basically machinery that's operated by. When you get into soft goods, you've got cut and sew, you've got a lot of like more variables. You have to be more disciplined in that side of it. That wasn't our wheelhouse. So, we've always flirted around with like, hey, maybe we do a limited edition run of certain types of apparel. But again, you got to stick to what you know and what you have confidence that you can deliver in quality to your customers.
That's a fantastic answer. And you are right. Just the amount of SKUs, and I think a lot of younger entrepreneurs don't realize minimum order quantities times the sizes or the SKU amounts. Like you're getting into like hundreds of different variations of products, and all of that just sits on your shelf until you sell it. So it's like sunk cost.
Well, let's also talk about like the genesis of it. Like we have an obligation to provide value. So if I cannot make a better shirt than Lululemon or anyone else like that, then what the hell am I doing here? Right? Like if I'm not actually providing value, if I don't have like something that's like, there's a reason to purchase it. Like I know how to make watches. I know how to make accessories because we were doing it. We're passionate about it. We knew how to do it. But if you jump into that apparel thing, you're kind of just like trying to capture something that you're not providing value for.
Absolutely. So what year was it when you started to really expand the product line?
2016, 2017 is when we had gotten more, we understood like, all right, we've got watches as our core product. We started making eyewear, I think in 2018. And that itself was its own journey. It took a few years for us to truly understand how it's made, the seasonality behind it, the intricacies of it. It's a completely different product, completely different manufacturing cycle. So if you can't tell, we're very much like tinkerers and builders. So we attach ourselves to something and then we make sure that we get it right. We're fine with taking the long route to do it. But by 2018, we had watches, jewelry, and eyewear.
And kind of in that journey, even up till now, like looking back, does anything stand out of like kind of larger lessons learned?
Yes. And it took us a few more years from that point to understand it. Your customer that buys watches is not the same customer that buys your eyewear. Just because they bought a watch from you, you cannot speak to them in the same way. It's a different purchase decision. It's a different like mentality entirely. It's a different season. Like, I mean, the Super Bowl for eyewear is April to June, April to July. After July, if you don't have sunglasses, the summer's almost over. Like, who cares? So yeah, I think as we were going in laterally in product categories, we were like, yeah, no, this is cool. But like figuring out how to understand the buying behaviors of that product, just because they're your customers and they bought a watch from you, you have to speak to them in a way of the purchase decision that makes sense of the product itself.
When you were kind of noodling on expanding the product line, did you do any customer interviews or anything like that?
Yeah, we did surveys. We did a lot of like, with your best customers and everything else like that. And then we kind of hit a crux of like, are we going to be like, to grow Vincero, we're going up market in watches already. Do we want to just be a watch brand and just go all in on like the heritage and the craftsmanship and everything else like that? That felt unauthentic to like what we were as a brand, because we liked making good products altogether. We didn't want to just niche ourselves down into watches specifically. So it was more of a hunch of like, we like making products. We like making other things. If like we're good at it and we can make it, we might as well sell it. So let's establish ourselves as an accessory brand. And because of that, you have to look at our watch. We look at our jewelry, and our eyewear as almost siloed businesses within Vincero. Like they're different sales cycles and everything else like that. But that's into the weeds a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to stay in the weeds though. So when you're talking, are you building out top of the funnel for each kind of silo and retargeting for each silo in specific?
Yes. Yeah. So like that, the mistake we made, I think early on, is that we were like, oh, well, we have this, database of a few 100,000 customers. They bought all watches. It's like, let's give them a sunglass like email. And it's like, oh, it didn't work that well. It's like, okay, well, how did we position it? How do we like set it up? It's like, well, it was basically like our watch email, but we just replaced it with like a cool looking sunglass. It's like, that's not the same thing.
Yeah. They're familiar with you for X, and then you're talking about Y,
Right.
It's definitely a learning curve there. And I think that's really interesting and something I'm sure there are a lot of businesses out there that are thinking about their growth and thinking about expanding their product line. And it's a little more work than just throwing a new product out there.
Well, and I would advise towards making sure it is complementary. So I'm talking about eyewear a lot here because it's almost like the third piece, but watches and jewelry made a lot of sense. Like we could get rid of the eyewear altogether and we'd be confident in scaling out watches and jewelry. But like we also have, I think, a cool shtick with our eyewear now that way, like it makes sense that we're seeing legs for it to grow. But like watches and jewelry makes sense. Watches and like sweatshirts, I guess so, because it's the same customer, but you'd have to figure out how to exactly speak to that customer. And with that, do you have the capacity to have that as a distraction within your organization, right? Like this like exploratory new product category. Are you capable of doing both things at once while you're still trying to grow the existing thing?
Absolutely. Now to pivot a little bit here, obviously one of your major strengths on the team is kind of heading up operations over there. And a lot of that has to do with hiring out and establishing roles and kind of just managing the team and how they help get things done. And you and I met, I always like to shout things out. I believe we met at Shop Talk in Chicago.
Yep.
And we had an awesome conversation. And you were telling me about, I really don't want to like put words in your mouth, but you were thinking about selling and then decided to not. And it really made you relook at your org chart. Was that the correct remembrance?
Kind of, yeah. We had reached a point where we'd almost hit a plateau of growth within Vincero. And in order to hit that next plateau, the amount of resources we would have to devote to like opening up that new channel, we were kind of on the fence of whether or not we wanted to dedicate that. So the idea was like, okay, if we're looking at that next plateau, and if we look at what the ultimate goal of what we wanted Vincero to be, can we achieve that in a length of time, like a longer time span? Absolutely. Like it's not going to happen in the next year or two. But if we're taking our time in doing that, we have such confidence in our operational abilities that why don't we start other projects as well to like facilitate that growth and keep going? Because Vincero as itself, as its own entity, is going to get there over a course of time. It's just going to be a longer time horizon. So with that, we started to look at Vincero itself, and then we just had to like make the decisions like, okay, this has to be, we're focused way too much on top line. Let's focus on profit. Let's build the company to where it's like indestructible. And that's like the shift that we had to make a few years ago.
Absolutely. And I think that in focusing on profit, it allowed you to be kind of meticulous with where expenses went.
Correct.
And obviously, for most modern businesses, the most expensive thing on your P&L is going to be, people.
Yes. And I think I will say, like, candidly, it is a bit of an ego hit to be comfortable with, like, listen, I don't care as much about top line, because in the business world, that's all everyone talks about, right? Is top line.
It's headcount in the agency world. It's top line for a lot of other businesses. But once you get deeper, you're like, how much are you taking home? What's the margin?
Yes. And we were at this plateau that I said for a few years, and it was like, dude, everything we keep doing, we're just burning cash.
Yeah. It's taking it out of your investment.
Right. Like, exactly. Like, what are we doing here? And I think when you first start, you have this dream vision of like a mythical exit, right? And it's almost like you push your boat out to shore and you start like paddling out there because you think that that's like what's going to happen. But then it's like if you don't have a clear direction or an actual place that you're going, then you're just paddling out there to just go out there. And I think that's kind of how we felt for a bit. So it was more of like, okay, we're just too overweight. We need to restructure this company. We're staffed to a capacity that we want to be able to scale and grow it. But what if there's a better way to build our team internally to make us lean regardless of what our profit line or regardless of what our top line is?
Absolutely. Do you want to dive in a bit there and kind of introduce maybe the newest portfolio piece that you've been working on?
Yeah. So Tidal is the reflection of like that decision. And essentially what we did a few years ago is our thesis was that e-commerce had matured, that if you had to, if there was the availability and the capacity for teams to be built remotely, why not take that globally? And what you would be able to do is you'd be able to hire top of market talent for all your strategic hires here in the US. And then for those mid-level and senior level roles, with a handful of years of experience, things like content marketers, logistics coordinators, e-com managers, foundational, like operational pieces, but they are essentially a task list of things that they have to do and execute on. What if we were to find those offshore and overseas, and instead of like the stigma of going offshore and like just trying to find bottom dollar, we approached it the same way we approached our supply chain mentality with product, is that like, you don't have to go bottom dollar. You can go top of market for a different region, and it's still going to be great quality. You're not maximizing like 90% cost savings, but you can probably get between 60 and 70% cost savings. And if the talent is comparable, why not do it? And they're willing to work in your time zone and everything else like that. So we started building it. We did it for ourselves within Vincero. We went from a headcount of 17 here in San Diego to now we've got 6 full-time here in San Diego, and we have 9 offshore hires, and output has, if anything, has increased. That's for us at Vincero. And then what we started doing with Tidal is we started helping other brands do the same and finding those mid to senior level talent offshore.
That's amazing. And it's kind of like the global economy, and it's the dollar savings. And it's like, here's like kind of a, people almost sometimes look down on outsourcing. And I think outsourcing has a negative connotation around it. And it's like, no, it's the way that I think a lot of people just don't understand how the dollar converts internationally. And
so again, I'm very biased because I spent 5 years in China. I built our product development, our manufacturing. I've lived in my professional career, like a very international life. So there's a bad stigma with outsourcing in the same way that there's a bad stigma in manufacturing in China or like in East Asia, is that it's like, you could find, if you have a t-shirt and you want to make it for $2, you could find someone to make it for you for $2. You could find that, but you probably don't want that level of quality. The fair price of like what's reasonable in expectation is like that $5 to $6 range. So similarly to like offshore talent, the $90,000 a year in the US, a comparable living wage out in the Philippines is like $20,000, $25,000 a year. And you're providing a great opportunity to someone who's had 5 to 10 years of experience, right? That's been working for brands or e-commerce or BPOs or anything else like that. So that's where we live within the market, is we hire that top level senior talent. We don't find you the cheapest talent. We provide you the best quality. We maximize your value that you're getting for each specific role.
Yeah, that's a great way to position it. It's the maximized value, and it's just the way that the cost of living everywhere is so drastically different. And I think that I guess some people that are against that sort of thing, it's like, well, if you would pay $110 in America, why wouldn't you pay them $110 regardless of where they live? And it's like, well, I can't actually afford $110. That's just what it is in America.
Correct. Yeah. That's the reality of it. And I think, for brands that are trying to grow and everything else like that, you still need, there's softwares, there's AI that's coming up and everything else like that, but you still need people and critical thinking skills to be able to like execute on objectives. And unfortunately, like for a lot of those specialist roles, the salaries are inflated here in the US. And so if you have a better option, why not do it, or why not explore it, or at least test it out? And it's almost, to be honest, it's kind of like you're unplugged for the matrix once you start doing it at a higher level, because you realize the global workforce and the caliber of people, if like you look outside of just like hiring US, is pretty drastic. It's pretty cool. It's pretty inspiring to be able to provide these opportunities to a lot of international hires, because they want the same thing too. They just want a good life.
Absolutely, Sean. It's been fantastic chatting with you today, and I'm so glad that we ran into each other at Shop Talk. Now, if people are listening to this episode and they want to check out Vincero, they want to possibly check out Tidal, or they just want to get in your inbox and disagree with you, what should they do?
I'm on LinkedIn. After a while. I think a few years, as of like a year ago, I think my LinkedIn still said I lived in Hong Kong, but I'm on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Just email me, Sean@VinceroCollective.com. That's fine. Check out VinceroCollective.com, HireTitle.com. Sean Agatep is not the most common name in the world, so if you just Google that, I'm sure Vincero will pop up at some point.
Awesome, Sean. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
For sure. I'll see you, Chase.
We can't thank our guests enough for coming on the show and sharing their knowledge and journey with us. We've got a lot to think about and potentially add into our own businesses. You can find all the links in the show notes. You can subscribe to the newsletter at honestycommerce.co to get each episode delivered right into your inbox. If you're enjoying this content, consider leaving a review on iTunes. That really helps us out. Lastly, if you're a store owner looking for an amazing partner to help you get your Shopify store to the next level, reach out to Electric Eye at electriceye.io/connect. Until next time.